family. So Pastor Autry is so helpful in trying to set these up and figure out. I was talking with him through Psalm 19. We decided this could be 3 separate sermons without a problem. And he said, yeah, if you need 2 hours, just take it. So I hope you got the memo. It's a packed lunch. I'm just joking. But it was very helpful. Thank you, Pastor Autry. I'm praying for you and your family. Hopefully you are resting and being re-energized to come back, because we definitely miss you when you're gone. So we will be in Psalm 19. First time through, if you want to read with me through the entire psalm, that will just give us an understanding of what David is saying here. But keeping an eye out that we're going to separate it into 3 sections, focusing primarily on the second one. So Psalm 19, to the choir master, a psalm of David. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the sky above proclaims his handiwork. Day to day pours out speech, and night to night reveals knowledge. There is no speech, nor are there words whose voice is not heard. Their voice goes out throughout all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them he has set a tent for the sun, which comes out like a bridegroom leaving his chamber, and like a strong man runs its course with joy. Its rising is from the end of the heavens, and its circuit to the end of them, and there is nothing hidden from its heat. The law of the Lord is perfect, reviving the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. The precepts of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of the Lord is pure, enlightening the eyes. The fear of the Lord is clean, enduring forever. The rules of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. More to be desired are they than gold, even much fine gold. Sweeter also than honey, and drippings of the honeycomb. Moreover, by them is your servant warned. In keeping them, there is great reward. Who can discern his errors? Declare me innocent from hidden faults. Keep back your servant also from presumptuous sins. Let them not have dominion over me. Then I shall be blameless and innocent of great transgression. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Okay, so the main points that we're going to look at in Psalm 19 are God's revelation and then our response. In this psalm, we can see 3 distinct ways as David writes of God's goodness. He begins with what we might call today natural revelation. The men should be familiar with this. We've been going through for a few months now these ideas in our Bible study. And then moves on to special revelation and finishes by showing us the natural result of recognizing these revelations of God. David was moved to worship in prayer. So today we're going to use this psalm to understand better what David was recognizing, and so that we too can marvel at God's goodness and apply his truth. So, the first section. David looks around at the wonders of God's creation, and he recognizes how immense and good God is as the creator of everything that he sees. Not by seeing God directly, but by seeing the result of God's creative work. This is an example of natural revelation, where God reveals himself to us through his creation. So primarily, this is the first 6 verses. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the sky above proclaims his handiwork. Day to day pours out speech. Night to night reveals knowledge. There is no speech, nor are there words whose voice is not heard. Their voice goes out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them he has set a tent for the sun, which comes out like a bridegroom leaving his chamber, and like a strong man runs its course with joy. Its rising is from the end of the heavens, and its circuit to the end of them. And there is nothing hidden from its heat. So did you hear the truth that's covered in those 6 verses? The heavens themselves declare God's glory. The sky, his handiwork. The rhythm and predictability of day and night cycles pour out speech and knowledge from God to us and to the end of the world, it says in verse 4. The sun that he has given us produces heat. It spans across the whole heavens, and there is nothing hidden from its impact. These are just a couple of tangible examples of the world that God has made for us to inhabit. And we can recognize and appreciate these creation truths with the senses that he has given us. Everything we see, feel, taste, hear, smell is possible because of God's created order and because of him as the creator. So, from the beginning to the end of every part of our day, there's the glory of our Creator God before our senses. And when we recognize these blessings with the right perspective, they confirm to us that God is the creator and sustainer of all things. And by his very creation, he is speaking to us. We saw that in verse 3. So if he's speaking, what is he saying? He's saying that he exists, that he is the creator, that he is good. God exists and is unchanging. There's no difference of God throughout the Bible. Isaiah 44 verse 6 says this, "Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel and his Redeemer, the Lord of hosts, I am the first and I am the last. Beside me there is no God." Revelation 1 verse 8 tells us, "I am the Alpha and the Omega, says the Lord God, who is and who was and who is to come, the Almighty." There's no change with God. He exists and he does not change. It's just comforting for us, just like the sun rising and setting, the night coming and going. So if we return to the creation account in Genesis, this is going to be a broad overview. Expecting a few more VBS kids. I figured they talked about this during the week, so it's in there, but that's okay. They'll come back and we'll review it again. The first part of the Bible reads this way. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The first sentence right there. God declares his existence, and he declares that he is the creator. In this truth that he reveals to us, we see that he created time, and then we go on to see that he created everything in the physical realm. He did this with order and precision and for our benefit, and then he told us what he accomplished so that we can believe in it. Here's the general pattern. And God said, and it was so. Then he named it, and then he said it was good. On day 1, this happens with light and darkness. Day 2, sky and waters. Day 3, land and vegetation. Day 4, the sun, moon, and stars. Day 5, sea creatures and birds. Day 6, land animals and humanity. Genesis chapter 1, verse 27 says, "So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them." And then here's the only change. "And God blessed them, gave them instructions and dominion, and then God's creation was very good." So check this out. The same sun in the sky that created on day 4 is the same sun that David was marveling at in these first verses of Psalm 19. and the exact same sun that we saw first thing this morning. This means that we can begin each day by recognizing the Creator God, thanking Him for His goodness, and realizing that He still blesses His people who were created in His own image. Because what God is also saying is, have faith in me. The consistent rising and setting of the sun show us a part of God's glory. He creates and He sustains. So this is our first step of faith, correctly recognizing that the God of the Bible is who He said He is, and that He created everything just as He told us. First step of faith. Natural revelation, though, also includes the conscience that God has given to each one of us. That's part of the created in His image. Which is important because there's a part inside of us that longs to agree with God's revealed glory. And yet we can respond to that in one of two ways. We can deny, or we can actually agree. In Romans 1, Paul describes it this way, starting in verse 18. Romans 1, starting in verse 18. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who by their unrighteousness suppress the truth. So that would be the denial part. If we choose to deny, God's calling that unrighteousness and denial of the truth. But here's where we all find ourselves. For what can be known about God is plain to them, because God has shown it to them. For His invisible attributes, namely His eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since what we just talked about, the creation of the world, in the things that have been made. So they are without excuse. So just this natural revelation part tells us we are without excuse, and that we must respond in faith to recognize and not, as that verse says, suppress the truth of God's power and divine nature. God's creation confirms His goodness because God intends to make it plain to each of us and to show us His goodness. He is not hiding from anyone. So this is a question I asked myself during the preparation for this, and so I'm going to ask you. Have you taken time recently to observe God's creation and allow